I hope you guys are ready for an amazing hour and a half with Lindsey and Michelle. So blessed that they were willing to have this conversation. But I have to tell you something before we get started. And that is this. I had a one sole purpose for asking them to do this interview, and the interview went in a completely different direction. I couldn't be happier. I asked them to do this interview because I know they're both power users in AirTable. And I thought it would be fun to geek out for an hour on what are they using AirTable for? What brought them to a decision to use AirTable? How are they building out their features? How does it serve their team? How does it serve their customers? All those types of geeky things. And I was super excited about that. But what you're going to notice as this interview goes on, and it's about an hour and a half, as it goes on, two themes continue to pop up. And about halfway through, it is definite. Those are the themes, and they don't end until we end, okay? And that is the first one, compassion. I had no idea that we would talk about compassion as much as we did. I didn't even know it would come up in the conversation. And it kept coming up over and over again about how every decision that they made about what feature they were going to add and how it was going to actually function and be used and how it would serve their customers, that every decision was fully informed by compassion. It's amazing. And if you get through this whole video and you just see how they bring compassion into every decision in their business, it can literally change your business just to get that mindset. That was an amazing, amazing value add I didn't see coming out of this video. Second one is this. They both are hardcore about the fact that we have so much data available to us. It's unbelievable. But a lot of times, TC companies don't do anything with that data. So here's the thing is, what do we do with that data to help us as a company and do better as a company and be more profitable and so on and blah, 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 blah. But the fact is what I loved about it, because that's almost, you'd expect that conversation, okay? But what they did is then they took the conversation to another level. And how do they use the data that's already available to them to actually raise their level of service to their clientele? It's amazing how they cover that topic. So I think you're going to love this hour and a half. Huge thank you to both of them for agreeing to this conversation. It's an amazing conversation. Have a good day. All right. Are you guys ready to go?
I think so.
Okay. Do you guys have a preference, or do you think that there's a better way to go with kind of who starts with, it seems like reporting kind of has a good general overview, because you can do reporting in TC management. You could do reporting for your business management. It seems like that kind of hits both of them. So Michelle, I was kind of thinking about asking, after we kind of go through some of these basic questions and stuff, I was thinking that your reporting may have real value to kind of everybody. And because I do have an audience, I think you guys know me from the admin community, but quite frankly, I have a bigger agent background than I have admin background. So I have a lot of agents that are going to watch. And that's kind of why I kind of was thinking maybe starting with you, because some of my audience from the agent side may be watching and looking at it from a reporting side and for their team. And then we kind of more dive deep, Lindsey, into kind of how you're using it on the transaction management side, because I think the agents might check out at that point. Okay, yeah. But our admin community will stick around and geek out with us. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
Just my thought. Time. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're just going to get going here. I am so grateful. You guys have already seen our intro, but it's almost like I would like to spend the next 15 minutes to 20 minutes just bragging on these two wonderful women, talented women. And Michelle, thank you so much for joining me. Lindsey, thank you so much for joining me. When I asked both of you guys to do this really started from the fact that I actually reached out to both of you and said, I want to interview both of you individually on different issues. But you're both kind of geeks on AirTable. Okay, so I thought bringing you two together would be fun. And if you guys could give us just a little bit of background so that our audience knows a little bit more about the context of the tool that we're going to talk about. What type of business is it fitting and serving? Michelle, could you tell us just a little bit about your business? I mean, I believe you both have basically full independent transaction coordination businesses, but I don't know maybe if you serve in other areas as well, or what size. What does that look like for you?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, David.
I love it.
I run Hometown TC out of sunny South Florida,
Okay.
and we do transaction management, listing management, and as well as administrative assistant services. So we're a task desk for many areas within the real estate community, but serving in an administrative level at all times. And so with Airtable for us, when we brought it on, it was really to help us in tracking everything that was coming in for us. We wanted to know when it arrived, who's serving it, how long is it staying under contract. It was really knowing about the numbers. I was inspired to use Airtable by one of the TCs in our community. Her name is Amber Dom.
Okay.
And when she showed us her Airtable, I was like, this is really cool. And it happened in, I want to say earlier of 2019 when I was introduced to the system. And I was like, yeah, this is probably going to fit some needs for us right now, because we had another system before and we would literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count it down, write it down. Like, we're going straight to basics. And this was actually something that answered a question for us, that we could have it do it automatically. So it was great. But with our business, we serve a good amount of agents in our community, and it helps us keep everything in line. I mean, it's great for us.
Okay, so you brought up something I wasn't planning on asking, but this does make me curious, just kind of the way that you shared that with us so it was back in 2019. How long? Because I've got some people that'll look at Airtable and they'll start it and then they kind of get overwhelmed. We've got other people that geek out on it and love it and develop something fairly quickly. How long did it take you to develop Airtable out so it was a usable product for you? Was it a pretty quick transition to make it a usable product for you, or is it something that really took you guys a while to dive in and build out a usable product for your team?
Great question. The moment that I saw Amber's Airtable and how she set it up,
Yeah.
a quick study. It took me about 2 days just to set it up.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Just looking at it, I was like, and then I would go. The great thing is that it was recorded. So I went back and I would look. I was like, oh, okay, this is this. And then if I had a question, I would Google it. Uncle Google, hey, how do I do this?
Yeah. And I've got some pretty complex spreadsheets and everything. And I was on a call yesterday, and just like what you said, I had someone on the call. It was a group of people, and you had one geek on the call that was like, Breckheimer, stop, just pause. She was literally trying to read all of my equations and take screenshots and everything, because she knew she could build this out and make a freakishly complex tool in about your time frame, 2 days. Where some of us, are you kidding me? We have to pay other people to do this stuff, or it's going to take us a while to develop it. Lindsey, could you tell us a little bit about your business? And now I'm kind of curious about kind of the same thing. I know a little bit of your journey with you building this out, but I'd like to hear it from you, because I'm sure you're going to share some things I don't know about it. So What is it about your business, and how long did it take for this to become usable? Because you're using it at a pretty high level. And I personally don't think it took you that long to build it out, which kind of freaks me out a bit.
Yeah, so I own Real Time Savers. So we are a transaction management company. We have 4 TCs. They're all my family members. And then we have one, I'm calling him a junior TC right now in training, who's doing awesome, helping us with setup. We mainly do contract to close. We don't really work with listing setup. We do handle seller and buyer files, just not pre-pending.
So contract close is really your range.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I found Airtable because life got busy. Family couldn't take it anymore. Being the one that's, the provider of financials for the whole family, plus we all live in the same house right now, and having work 24/7 on top of financial stress, and us all living in a house together was just insane. And we were at a breaking point, and we went on vacation for 3 days, me and my husband and my son. And somehow I came across you, David, on YouTube. And what my weekend was supposed to be with my family, my only 3 days, I spent all nights after they were asleep watching your videos, just nonstop. Like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. And I couldn't act fast enough. And so I started messaging you, and I found your whiteboard videos, and I was all over it. I understood, I wanted it. But what I didn't know is how you have, your key milestone.
Yep.
When you're following up on stuff, you scroll a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right to make sure you're not missing anything. And I totally understand how that works for you. I couldn't understand how to teach that well, how to make that easy enough for a second grader to not fail at.
Yep.
So I had to find something that worked for me with your white table or your whiteboard system that it could do what I wanted it to do. So AirTable for me stores all of our data that you get on any transaction. So all of us, every single transaction coordinator, any agent, we all have, 100 points of data, let's say, on every transaction. We've got the property address, we've got client's contact information, we have mutual acceptance date, we have what kind of property it is, when did it go under contract. We have all this data, and we don't know, how to analyze it very well, because we're so busy and just inputting that and then inputting it again in a different system that does something else. And then again in another system that does something else. Going back before my transaction business, I was an admin for a big real estate team for 8 years. And we tried Top Producer, we tried Brivity, we tried just so many different CRMs. And what Top Producer taught me was that, wow, it's amazing. You can do so many things with content.
Yep.
But you have to use it.
Yeah.
You have to want to use it. It has to make sense to your business. So every time we signed on for Top Producer so many times, and we could never use it because it wasn't really friendly looking, and it would take so many clicks to get to the one part that we actually wanted to use.
Yep.
So AirTable for me is an open source. You can do whatever you want with your data. Yep. So if we want to know just numbers, I can create a dashboard with all of our numbers without duplicating any effort on my part. No more data entry. I've already entered it once because we're entering it anyways at the beginning of the transaction. But now if I want to focus on numbers, I can write just a couple little codes or pick the app to do a graphic, and all that data will be there for me in exactly what I want to view. Do I want to know how many new constructions?
I want to strip this down to the honest side of it too. Is I've seen some of your codes because you've shown them on some other webinars. What do you mean little codes?
Well, some of them.
Tell it.
Some of them.
Tell it.
I don't know. I'm giving you a hard time. Let's just be honest here. Is I have been drawn to both of you quite a bit, and Michelle, part of why I have been drawn to you for a while is, quite frankly, your spirit within this community, it is freaking contagious. It's ridiculous. I mean, your smile is contagious, but the fact is the way you have poured into this community and the way that you ask questions and the way that you make yourself available to answer questions and everything else like that, I can't help but be drawn to you. And then the fact is you have a successful business, but you're willing to always take something from anybody else, and your ability then to take that and actually apply it is amazing. I love it. You're a doer. Now, Lindsey, I was totally attracted to you is quite frankly where you really, really triggered me was you had originally reached out to me. We did a number of calls together and everything else like that. And I could suggest anything. I might even say something literally in passing, or I think it's in passing. 2 days later, I will get some type of video screenshot of, hey, by the way, I heard you say this. And then she's completely put it into a system, and she's actually built it out in AirTable. And it's your ability to hear something, process it, and actually, most importantly, apply it inspires me like nobody's business. Nobody's business. I absolutely love that. So you both have things that that's why I'm so excited about this call. I'm just a big fan of both of you. Michelle, I had asked before we did the call, if you wouldn't mind starting by kind of showing us some of the reporting and stuff. And throughout this call, if either one of you, as you guys are sharing things, I asked you guys a couple of real basic questions. If you were going to point out a couple things that you think are kind of real strengths of using something like AirTable, okay? I had said, what feel free throughout the call to just kind of point out 3 of things that you think are the 3 greatest strengths, 3 things that you would think that either people would miss or you think are just underrated. They are very powerful within Airtable, but maybe people wouldn't see. And then also mention if there's anything within that you're showing us that involves any type of automation, because automation is a hot button again right now. Okay, people are starting to think about automation again, where it was a big topic about 2 years ago. All of a sudden, it's all coming back, and everybody wants to talk about it again. So, Michelle, as you're kind of going through and showing us how you use Airtable, if you bring up any of that, otherwise, just kind of lead us through what your tool looks like.
All right, perfect. Let me just bring it on over here. Let me share my screen. So this is actually from last year. I don't want to go into the one from that we're currently working on for 2021 because imagine I'll be playing with something that's live right now. But this is last year's tool that we kind of put together. I think I cut off on the beginning of December. So we have a good amount of data from last year that we can see how this lovely Airtable works for us.
Okay.
So the first thing that drew me to this, because I was actually on the fence. I was like, I hear Trello and I hear all these other systems, but Trello was like calling me, oh, that sounds really nice. I can do this, that, and the other with it. And it visually, like Lindsey had pointed out before, I had seen a ton of your videos. So I was like, it kind of reminds me of David's, you got to see in 30, can it answer questions in 30 seconds or less so that you can keep it moving? So it was one of those things that I was like, Trello seems like it could have that vibe for us. And it's simple enough to set up. It had to be simple enough because tech savvy I'm not. I am the one that will throw dollars to an issue just to make sure that it works from day one. But if I can set it up, I'll take time for it. So when I got into Airtable, it was pretty cool because I literally what you see here is like the basics that I got from Amber. The things that I had actually changed for my business was creating a service order.
Okay.
And that was so that we can get some really great calculations of the monies that we were receiving and how that went for our profit first model, which is all the way at the end of all these lovely little things that are out here.
Okay, so if I can pause just 1 second,
Yes.
I think kind of what you're going to be showing us here in all of this, your main purpose for your Airtable today anyways, is really, it's not about processing anything. It's about tracking the numbers, right?
It's tracking the numbers, yes. And we actually had a component within it, which my TC said, we don't need it in here. We already have Folio in our inbox that doesn't take us out for it. But the initial setup, it actually did have a transaction management side, which is here. If I show you a hub, and that we can literally slide from the statuses, and we know who we need to check for in any given time that we're doing our time blocks for it. This is where your inspiration came from.
Okay.
This was the hubs for each of the TCs to go in and say, okay, I can do this. Our current version does not have this anymore.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm a time blocking geek. I can't help it. It's kind of one of my love languages. So I love even hearing that was
it was an inspiration for sure. I was like, we can have this in here, and it was great. So as soon as a file is received, we're putting it in Airtable, we're assigning it to the customer, it's creating the order number, and we're filling out all this important data for us so that we can see if the file is terminated, the reason for it, if that happens, what kind of service was ordered, the received date, effective date, closing date. We'll even throw a nice little picture because we have that Trello function and we like to see pretty things. A file link to the Google Drive folder. So it's literally, we need to get to the folder to get some documents. It's right there. Who the coordinator is and how it relates to one of our goals. List, purchase, all these numbers that are right here are literally for our reporting for our agents, which I'll show you in a second. the things that you saw on the board over there, it will show you, we would trigger if we received the escrow letter, if it canceled, compliance status, appraisal status, financing status. This is actually canceled, so it didn't go far, but it would have all the areas for us to know where we are on any given section of the transaction while we're processing. One of the cool things that I will point out that I love is automation. And this is great because the moment that we would select this checkbox, it would send an email to be triggered, to be sent to our billing department. And the billing department would create the invoice. It would have the data of who's the agent, how much is the invoice for, and when it's due, the moment that we select this.
Can I ask, because you're already going down the road that I literally wanted to stop you on and ask, is where in here do you have any type of automation set up? So when you are setting these up as automations, because some people are just going to be watching this videos and this is going to trigger some interest to research Airtable.
Yes.
And with that, they don't know, are the automations automatically, are they built into Airtable? Are they things that you are linking through, say, a Zap, through Zapier? I mean, how are you handling the automations?
We're handling the automations directly through Airtable.
Airtable.
So when we set up invoice request, when we set up invoice request and coordinator recruit nomination, which is another great one that has a little heart to it, that is letting us know, that sends out emails and Slack through this nice little tool right here that it says automation.
Okay, excellent.
So it will, when there's a co-op on nomination, it will send out, once it's triggered, when a record matches pipeline and there's a heart, it will send out an email to me and to our client success team. And it gives instructions. We want to pull an MLS report to find out what their production says is. If it's not meeting our standard recruitment standards, then we're going to meet with the TC and say, well, this is where it is. Do you have enough bandwidth to take this agent? Should we invest more time? And it sends that automated message right away as soon as is nominated.
That's awesome.
And it triggers what we need to know so that we can make an informed decision on our end, because we only can take so much.
Yeah.
So the same
Michelle,
with the invoice.
can I ask a question?
Sure, go for it.
Do you manually enter stuff into Airtable to start the transaction, or from your form on your website, have you hooked that up to go into Airtable?
You know, Lindsey, I love your system and I can't wait for us to go down the rabbit hole with yours, because right now we have an order entry, but it's only internal. This is all for our team. Yeah. Our agent partners do not go in here. And if they receive anything from this, it's when we get into the reporting numbers on the cost and the customer base side of this, where we're going to go diving deep on what their production was throughout the year. Yeah. But that's actually this lovely little partner production email that is automated. Once I select check email, it will send out a beautiful email, which we'll dive into right now. But this is the way that I use automation.
Okay.
We have it linking to Google and Slack, which is what we use for our internal communications as well. Okay. And that way everybody stays on top of what we need to do.
Okay, excellent. And just again, for those that are new to Airtable, those are built-in automation features within Airtable. You do not have to set up any, because some people are afraid of the fact that they've got to get involved in setting up links between two different things, and they're going to have to use Zapier, and that's just out of their comfort zone. The fact that this is all built in under one roof just adds to that power and convenience to this. It's a great tool. It's amazing.
It is. I was like, it didn't complicate my life, and that's most importantly number one for me. I was like, I don't want to get complicated.
Yep, I love it.
So with the data that we're receiving, everything is being sourced through this lookup field that is client and customer.
Okay.
And this client and customer, when you see this little link to another record, it's actually pointing to the customer tab over here.
I was just going to ask that. Good.
And through this customer tab, I'm able to see the production for our agents. And it's linking to the brokerage so that we know what's going on in that brokerage, how many agents we have there. And it's a great conversation with our broker partners as well that we're aligned with, because we send them these reports as well of how their agents are producing and things of that nature. So we have a beginning of the year call with our agents, and they tell us their goals for the year.
That's awesome.
and we sit there and look at this particular, I have no idea what happened here, but this is supposed to say how close they were to the goal that they had.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
And then this is one of my favorite features. It's the roll up.
Yep.
And the roll up, it will literally take anything that is assigned in pipeline to this agent and count for me.
Mm-hmm.
So how many files did we receive in first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter?
Yeah.
How much is this account are we receiving from this particular client? And
Yep.
it's stating it there.
Okay.
How many orders did we receive in the year? How many were listings? How many were closings?
Okay.
How many canceled? In our office, we do not charge our clients for cancellations.
Yeah.
And we act as a team in that sense. So we just wanted to know how many files were actually canceling out and the reasons for it. That's why we have the reasons for termination.
Yep.
This is when I actually trigger, which we'll get to it. This is a great, they're always asked, oh, how many files? What was the reason? And I tell them, well, many were for inspections. This is a great conversation with your agents.
Yep.
It's because they want to know, oh, this is what happened. I mean, when you look back, it's hard to see. So the next part is rate of cancellation. It's literally telling us from everything that's submitted and closed, how many of are actually canceling and what is the rate of cancellation for that year?
Yep.
How many files they're closing per month? What are the days in processing? And the stuff that they love to learn about is list price to sales price, how much commission they earn, how many hours they saved, their savings for having an independent TC instead of hiring in-house. So yes.
No, you have said something a few times here that I mean, it's such a passion area of mine. So to let you go by without really hitting this and get your perspective on this, I'm not going to be true to my soul on this. Here's the deal is you hear all the time, you got to know your numbers, you got to know your numbers, you got to know your numbers. Okay, that's all great and fine. The one thing that I really want to talk about is I still believe that we don't talk enough about the fact of relationships. This is still a relationship business. And what you have mentioned many times just in this last 5 minutes is how many times you have something to talk to them about, that you have reasons to pick up the phone. This is about relationships. You don't develop relationships without communication. You don't develop relationships without reaching out to people, but you actually, based on what you are tracking, you have legitimate things that they want to know anyways. Okay. You would want, I would assume, to reach out to them just to continue to grow and build and nurture that relationship, but you're also able to call them with just bringing value. And here's one thing, I think I end up getting a little upset about every December and January because I know what New Year's resolutions come around in this business, in particular, independent transaction coordinators. We are going to see in every group this next question asked, and I get a little hot under the collar every year this time. They say, has anybody thought about what services they're going to add this year to add more value to their clients? And everybody talks about, are you going to add marketing services? Are you going to add listing service? Are you going to add all of these types of things? And what I continue to point out is what you're doing right here. Do you realize, even if you added no other products and services, you could do exactly what you're doing today and actually bring more value to them, and almost bring enough value to them that it would be painful for them to let you go. Okay. The fact is if they lose you, how much reporting could they lose? How much data could they lose? How much information could they lose? If you have built a system to track all of those things for them, so they know what their retention rate is, they know what their closing rate is, they know what their sold to close rate is. The amount of things that you just showed in this little report, that if you don't provide this to them, they would have to build a system themselves to figure this type of information out. You don't, even without adding any new services, you can do the same things you're doing today with no extra work to you. Just build a system that tracks this stuff. Literally no more day-to-day per file work to you, and you could actually bring them more value. Literally bring them more value. And I just love what you are doing here. There's so many reasons why this is important to me. Is you have a reason to give them a call. You have a way to bring them more value. that someone's doing the exact same service you are and is still not bringing the same level of value you are. I love everything that you're doing and everything that you're showing on so many levels. It's not even funny. So thank you for sharing all of this.
It's definitely, when we send out the emails, they love it.
Yeah.
When they get their production report, which is the automation that's triggered by selecting this lovely little button right here, it's a green star.
Love it.
And we're going to be actually doing this quarterly now because it was such a great hit last year. And they're like, let us know how we're doing because we want to reach goal. I can't believe I was that shy from goal.
Yeah.
And it's this email.
Are you dealing with a lot of teams or a lot of solo agents? Because some teams will build up an admin team and they will build up full reporting where the agent is just running and they don't have time to build systems. And they might not even have the knowledge to build systems. But I'm assuming you have both solo agents and maybe some teams that you're doing transactions for that both are finding value.
Yes, we have teams, we have solopreneurs,
okay.
And it's, I don't want to say anything about it, but it's just that they're so busy, they're run. And my promise is to give them peace of mind. And I know that this will give them peace of mind that it will be taken care of. Because I'm here, I'm on my desk. And if I can build something that can answer some questions or give some 2020 vision, then why not?
Okay, so you
just think of all the teams out there.
Yep.
Sorry, can I?
No, go for it.
That all the teams out there that have problems getting buy-ins from their agents to fill out some kind of reporting, to fill out a form, to fill out a daily checklist, to go bring to their rainmaker to have those one-on-one appointments and see how they're doing. You can provide that to the rainmaker and save all the trouble of trying to get that accountability from the team agent on filling out these reporting. You can have that taken care of for them.
You said something else when we first started this call. You said, you know what? We have data. We have data. Okay. If the data is already there, you could actually use that data for something that brings something of value to someone. If you have data, and I love what Michelle just said, I'm just sitting here with all of this information sitting at my desk. If there's something that I can do is just sit at my desk and kind of look through this thing and think through this thing and say, I've got all this data. What type of reporting could I basically produce out of this data that would actually bring real value? Okay, not perceived value, real actionable value to these people. I love this stuff. I love it. What else you got to share with us, Michelle?
Well, I just wanted to share the actual email as it went out. And this is all we showed them. We showed them how it showed up to them was how many orders, what happened, how we're doing, and what their savings were. And literally showing them with the numbers what great savings they're having through an independent TC company. And it not only talks to them about how many families we served, it's literally showing them how we've helped them increase their business. Yeah. So the moment this went out, I literally got a ton of referrals.
And
just on that one thing.
Something that you are doing that we did on ours as well was we would have conversations with them at the beginning of the year to determine what their goals were. And then we could check in on that per their one-on-ones with their team lead or per quarter, ask them, have you revised your goals? So we would update ours. So it's basically as we are, your Airtable, you're putting all the information in there. You can tell them where they are quarterly or year to date on their actual goals. How valuable is that? So I love that you're doing that and you can produce that stuff and throw it out in an email for them. It's wonderful. Absolutely.
And then and the phone will ring automatically. This went out December 31st. We're like, end of the year, here we go. And the moment it went out December 31st, we're not open New Year's, never. And so literally at least 2 to 3 business days into the new year, we're already having conversations with our agents about what they received.
And you're going to do it now quarterly?
And now we're going to be sending it out quarterly.
Yeah, 100% yes. Yeah. Awesome. Love it.
So
love it.
I love the roll-up feature. I love the automation. It really helps. And I also love the graphics. So when I go back into Airtable and we have like these like apps, and it's still pulling the information from our table. So it's telling us what relationships we have, how much impact are we creating in the brokerage, where we are in our goals for the year. And this is our quarter countdown for our 411s, just to make sure that we're hitting what we need to do. So I love these graphics. It's like sometimes I just can't look at all of these numbers. I'm going to drive myself nuts. But if I look at this, oh, look, it's pretty. It's in color, like I said. Easy peasy. I can see right off the bat what's going on. So those are the three things that I love about it. One new tool that just came out that I can't wait to set up is the summary reports that they came up in automation. Okay. So in automation, they came out with a new automation that you can send when a record matches, and you can tell it from the pipeline that you want it to send you a report. I'm going to put just one receive date. And then add action. You can have it now so that it can run an email. No, this is not it. I have to play with it more, but it's going to find records. This is the one. And it's going to tell you that you can look at these records and send me everything that came out through those days, so I can know weekly how many files came in, how many files canceled, how many files, there was something else that it could do. Like if you just map it out, it'll do the automation and send you a weekly report. Because we do that now on Fridays. We sit down with our Airtable, me and my team, and we look at Airtable and we're like, okay, what happened in the transactions this week? How many did you come in? How's your bandwidth? And we're checking all that information just looking at our Airtable. But they have one now that you can run the automation to send you the report automatically. So that's like 30 minutes we could shave off our meeting and just focus on the data that it produced. So that's the one thing that I'm here like, I can't wait for me to actually implement that. So, but it's in there.
Implementation is a big deal to me. So let me just ask you a question. So you're excited about it. You're talking about implementing it.
Yes.
Give me a date. When will you have this actually implemented? I'm putting you under the gun.
You're putting me under the gun.
Come on, get her done. When will you have this implemented?
That's what I said. I will have it done before the end of quarter, before the 31st.
Okay. All right. I love it.
Hey, you almost just did it, Michelle.
I know, but
you were so close.
I love the people from Airtable. I'm going to give them a shout out because every time I get stuck, I have a question, I was like, I need help with a formula. They are so quick to respond and help you out. And I always I'm here like, I'm going to show you a video of what I did. So I'll loom it real quick. And they're like, oh, this is where you're having the issue. And this is where you correct and put in this formula from what you have here.
And Lindsey, didn't you say almost the same thing on another one of your videos as you were trying to do something complex and they almost got geeky about it? It's like, we think we understand what you're trying to do and we've never seen anyone quite take it from that approach. And they couldn't be more excited about helping you. And they gave you a formula that was the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen. But
it was amazing. Yes, they said, no, we do not do this. We do not help with formula creation, but this is awesome. I love it. Yeah. We're going to help you. And they sent it and it was awesome. And it was exactly what I needed. I knew it could be done. Yeah. I just didn't know how to get it there.
Airtable for all the support they give their customers.
Yes. That's been important why I keep sticking around. I'm here like, hey, great customer service is everything to me.
I love that. I love hearing that. And I think the listeners to this need to hear that. And Airtable deserves that kind of shout out. And recognition. So definitely. Michelle, what else do you want to show us before all of a sudden Lindsey gets all geeky about transaction management with us?
Well, this is all that I have set up, and what it really served my needs of knowing my numbers. I needed that high level view of the accounts we had, what's going on with the customers, and having those conversations. It's very important for me. So this served that purpose for me, and that's how we built out this Airtable.
I love it. So it serves you, serves your team, helps you run your business. It also allows you to do the same thing that other TCs are doing out there, but to add another level of value with the data that you have. You're adding more value with the existing customers that you have. It's not about just adding another product or service. You could do whatever product service you're doing, as long as you
Right.
use the data that's available to you. The extra level of service, freakish level of service that you could provide to your clients with what you're already doing is amazing if you just harness that data and figure out how to make it useful to them.
Yep.
Beautiful.
100%.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, I'm getting geeky and I just love this stuff. So, okay. We could literally do 3 hours of just each of you, and I would dive so deep. I so love this stuff. All right, Lindsey, let's just say it right up front. You told us before the video, and I think you've mentioned it to me right before we got on with Michelle, while Michelle was on here and off of call. David, I could go on forever about all this stuff, so cut me off. We are going to keep this to an hour, but I'm telling you right now, I have seen what you do with your transaction side of it. Show us what would give someone a real good overview of just how powerful this could be for transaction management, or what you have done for your family in about 15 minutes or so.
Okay, 15 minutes. Okay.
Come on, girlfriend.
Wait, let me share. Pressure. Okay. So I know Michelle has a form on her website. A lot of TC business owners have some kind of form that they intake new files on. That was one of the first things that David recommended, and one of the first things that I acted on. To set up a form to come into Airtable so that I don't have to add data, so that the agent is actually providing data and it's automatically going into the system for me to save time, was super simple. That setup, because I never answered your question earlier. How long did it take me to do that? That was the very first thing we did. And that alone took me maybe a day. Okay. That was super simple. Cool. My hardest part with that was coming up with, what questions do I want to ask the agent?
Yeah.
So that was a me thinking, looking at what's the problems we've had in the past. So I have a form that is from Airtable. This is built into Airtable. Okay. And you can customize it. You can make fields conditional upon answers on other fields. So this is what our agents fill out. Yep. Airtable is a very generic form. It's not the prettiest. Other programs like Cognito forms or Jot forms that are super sexy and you can format and brand and have all sorts of different colors, those work too. So I just want to say how amazing it is that Airtable integrates with all these other programs. So if you're using something else, it's likely that you can connect it with Airtable already, so that information comes in. Like Michelle, I want to look at yours and get it to connect for you. It can happen. You don't have to change anything. You just have to create, that connection point so that happens for you.
And
so, Lindsey, you and I are talking.
Yeah. Lindsey, I'm not going to let you go by without sharing something that you have said multiple times, because I believe that Michelle believes this, and I'm a huge believer in this, okay? Is a lot of times when we're putting things together, it looks like we're doing things for our own benefit. I want the form so I don't have to do the data entry. I want the, all this other kind of stuff. Here's the deal is you have to know that you are building this and that it actually brings real value to your customers. If I don't know that everything that I'm doing, and I mean literally everything that I'm doing, brings real value to them, even if it brings value to me, I'm not excited about it. And what you said when we started working on these forms is that not only were you building it because it would streamline your systems, but it was actually giving your agents a tool so that all the things that when they sent a file to you and you always had to follow up them 2-3 times, and you didn't have to waste their time anymore. You didn't have to chase them down anymore. And that wasn't just a benefit to you. That was 100% benefit to the customer. And the amount of times that I've heard you point out why you build these things and what value it brings to the customer, you're always going back and talking about what value it is to them. And then after they use it, how grateful they are that they now have a tool. So you're constantly taking this from the perspective, yes, it will improve our business, our systems, make us more scalable, make us more duplicatable. But I love that you almost can't talk about this without at some point bringing up the value that you are taking from a perspective of what does it bring the customer. I just have to share that with you because I know I pushed you on how much time you have on this, how little time. And I didn't want you to miss that because it's a huge part of your message and I love it.
Well,
Okay.
so much of what you have taught is compassion, and I struggle a little bit with that. And one, compassion for yourself. So making sure that, your time, my time is valuable. I don't need to just serve everybody else. I need to take care of me too. But compassion for them is the fact that I don't have to call them 6 times to ask the same question and leave them a text and an email because they haven't gotten back to me on whether or not the home inspection has been scheduled or not.
Yeah.
Compassion is that I'm not sending out an email to somebody's in China, overseas for some reason saying, hey, don't forget to drop off your earnest money tomorrow because I didn't know that they were in China.
I'm 100% broken record on that. If everything that you are doing is not fully informed by compassion, again, we're just not on the same page. Doesn't mean that my way is the only way to do it, but I'm just telling you right now, we're not on the same page. Everything that we do has to be fully informed from a point of compassion.
Yes. And I know people have fear of the buy-in from agents on these forms. They do. They just have so much fear. So the buy-in, one, the agent doesn't get serviced if they don't fill out the form. Okay. What more buy-in do they need? They can't get their transaction set up. But two, hey, Mr. Agent, you are rocking it. Yeah. We're getting so many transactions from you. I'm so excited for you. Yeah. And you know what? I value your time. And I just created this tool to help you because I don't want to be bugging you with these questions every day. I don't want to come to you 6 times when you fill out a new form because I know that you don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. So I created this for you so that if you're in their car, in between showing appointments, whatever, you can fill this out on your phone.
Yep.
Put an icon on your home screen of your phone. Put it in your browser as a favorite, put it as an icon on your desktop. It's there. You can have your assistant fill it out.
Your agents can literally come out of an appointment and just sit in their car and fill it out in 2 minutes?
Yeah, if that. Yes.
Okay. And literally that convenience of I'm thinking about it right now. It's on my phone. I can literally fill this out and give Lindsey and her team everything that they need in about 2 minutes and then just run off and not even have to think about stuff moving forward. I know that they're not going to try to track me down 6 more times as I'm driving to my next couple of appointments. They've got what they need. I'm done. The level of peace and contentment that brings them, just knowing it's taken care of, it's crazy good. Crazy.
Yeah.
I love what you
So
did.
one of the reasons why I like the AirTable form specifically is can you guys see my browser? Mm-hmm. Do I have it to? Okay.
Yep. So
I store all of our contacts in AirTable. So that's my CRM as well. I've chosen to use that as our CRM. Okay. So our agents are in there, our inspectors, our appraisers, our escrow agents, our lenders. So every time we get a new contract, that's a potential new contact going into the system. Okay. And because we've had so many files, we've run over 450 files since November through this system. One, we got it down pretty good. That was a good practice. But two, we've got so many contacts in here. So when they come down and I need to know who the escrow agent is, they can come in here and they can search through who's already in here. So,
show us that. I thought that was powerful. You actually made this so easy for the agents. They don't have to type almost anything. There's so many drop downs. It's a it's an Airtable form that connects with the data. Once again, you have data and you're making it usable and valuable for them. So they don't have to even type in their title person. If it's already in Airtable, there's a drop down and they can just choose the one or even just start typing it. And doesn't it show up?
Yes. So they can start by like a name, Cindy, let's see, land title, company. Here's a bunch of different people. Say that we know it's somebody in Anacortes.
Yeah, I don't see your. I think it's
on
can't? This. Yeah, I'm still seeing the intake form on. So I think you're only sharing this tab and not your entire application on Zoom.
So let me get to, here we go.
That's good stuff. We really want to see what you're doing there. Right now, it's just showing new file intake. There it is. Perfect.
Lovely.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, your form is so sexy. Keep going.
Okay. So I'm clicking on escrow agent and I'm going to start searching. So I'm going to search by name, maybe Brianna. Okay. I've got 2 different escrow people to choose from. Maybe I want to search from company because I know that it's Chicago Title, but I have no clue who works at Chicago Title. And they just said that it was a Kathy at Chicago. I don't know what her last name or what her contact information is. Or, this one is actually in Freeland. And there's only one option for an escrow in Freeland, So I've made the name of the contact have as much data points in it so that it can be searchable. Because David, your 30 seconds or less, that is everything. I know Michelle mentioned it, but that is everything.
Lindsey,
so whatever
I have a
we
question.
can do. Yeah.
So the moment that they input this in your intake form, what if it's someone else? Does it give them the option of inputting someone new? And then that way it goes into your contact list? Because I don't see that. It already had to be there?
So we've got, okay, hold on. How do my agents do this? I'm going to go to lender. Okay, so because I make it mandatory, they have to fill in an escrow agent. They have to fill in a lender. So for example, for lender, this is a cash deal. They don't have a lender. So I want them to select NA, this is a cash deal. Right. And that makes it super clear to me that even though they don't have a financing addendum right now in this crazy market, people are just not including that because they think it's an advantage. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a cash deal. Yeah. So I'm saying, hey, tell me it's a cash deal. And I made these asterisks so that it comes towards the top.
Okay.
Or
if it's a new lender and they just start typing that new lender, we'll allow them to put anything they want in there, and then that gets added to the CRM.
So right here, we've got the next drop down is add new lender contact.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay, and then it gives you stuff
I
to fill out.
love you. This is awesome. Jesus, I was wondering about that. I was like, how does it go in if you don't have it? So automatically, once you put it in, they add that selection, they're going to input a new contact into the customer role, into your contact.
Yeah.
That is some sexy stuff right there.
So I also have, the buyer's still deciding. I'm going to send you the information when I have it. Because I'm telling them, hey, they've got to send it to me. Yep. Another thing I learned from you, David, that not just the buyer still deciding, I'm giving them the clear expectation that they need to send me that information when it's available.
Proper levels of expectation.
Yeah. Or they can say that, they've already got a pre-approval letter. It's in the contract. I'm too busy to look at it. I'm just telling you that it's in the contract. You can get it from there. I'm fine with that. We have the information I need and they've told me where I can find it. Okay. So that is just an example of why I use the Airtable form versus a Cognito form, because I can actually have it choose from data within the system already.
That's amazing.
So when they fill this out, this goes automatically into what we have a processing center.
Okay.
So this is every transaction that we receive. And when a new file comes in, when an
I don't think
agent
I'm looking at
form,
that file.
This one says status change form.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to miss a beat.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We're getting into sexy forms.
Oh, screen. There we go.
This wasn't that sexy. This is totally sexy to me.
Super sexy. Jesus.
Okay, are we there?
Yeah.
Can you see now? Okay.
Yes.
So they submit that form from their car, from their computer, from wherever. They can email us the documents too, because sometimes it could be a challenge to upload documents from your phone to the form. Yep. I'm fine with them emailing it to me as long as they told me in that form that they're emailing it to me.
Same here.
And it comes and it automatically comes into the system. And because of an automation I have set up, it says anytime a new file comes in to this table, it's going to get assigned to the new status of ready to process. Okay, so it shows me where it is. So it says that this goes to my team member, Kitty French. Here's the agent. Here's when it was submitted. And then I have the checklist of what we need to do to complete setup on this.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't need to know right now that the inspection's been scheduled. I don't need to know about earnest money. I don't need to know any of that stuff right now at this point. So I don't want to view any of that stuff. I don't want to have my brain get convoluted with all this extra information. Yep. And that's why I'm so excited about Airtable, because I can customize a view to view anything that I want. And it doesn't just have to be text. I've got checkboxes.
Yep.
I can have a button. I can have, this is a notes field that compiles multiple different fields throughout my table that are all important notes into one spot. Like if I had any home inspection notes, or if I have missing stuff, or if I have home warranty instructions, or any special stuff, I want it all in one place, but it might be entered in different fields. So I've got one spot for that. The neat thing about this as a business owner is I can see everything that's coming in. I don't have to have my mom call me and say, oh my gosh, I've got so much going on. I just can't handle it. I don't know what to do. I need help, but I don't know how to tell you how to help. And it's all in my email and you don't have access to my email right now. So I just wanted to let you know I'm having a horrible day. That's what I used to get. And then that's not because of my mom's fault. That was because our system wasn't set up to help her.
1000%.
I wasn't being compassionate towards my team members on providing a system that was supportive to them.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I can see in real time that we have on a Monday, 20 new contracts, and that 19 of them are for my mom and only one of them's for me. So I can go help. All of the information's right here. I don't have to go into her email to find that information to start working on that data. So
let's just point that something out that you just said. These systems have not just benefited your customers. These systems have benefited you as a leader. It allows you to be a better leader. It allows you to not just serve your customers, but actually serve your team members better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that on so many levels.
Training. Another reason that we did this is because training. I didn't know how to bring on. I've been fearful for years.
Mm-hmm.
I could have hired somebody 5 years ago. Like I needed to. And I didn't because I didn't know how to do that. That's why I've got all my team members or family members, because I could sit them right beside me and, not be the nicest HR savvy person. I can have them there and say, this is how you do it. This is how you're going to do it. So in Airtable, one of the other super neat features is that we have this app sidebar that you can create custom dashboards with whatever you want to include over here.
Oh my God,
so one of mine is how to process a new transaction. I could, and I should, and I want to. This was one of my very first reasons that I signed up for Airtable, and was my plan from day one that I just never got to. Creating a Loom video on how to do this. What does this checklist do?
Yep.
How do you view this? I could have that embedded right here so that when they are coming and working, any one of my people, and they forget how to do something, or they haven't done a specific thing in a while, they can come over here and watch the Loom video within the program without having to exit, without having to call and say, hey, I know we have that video. Where do I find it?
Yep.
It's here. It's embedded. You can play it right there. So one of the things I did last night was I put together a quick infographic, and I was able to embed it right here. That just shows our workflow. The agent submits the intake form. It goes into Airtable automatically. I don't have to do extra work there. A notification with key information actually gets emailed to the corresponding TC.
Yep.
So that's where it says, hey, this is mutual. This is some special information that you're going to need to know in order to move forward with this stuff. And then we can have it to where the agent gets a text, where they get an email. They could get triggered by a slide dial voicemail. I don't know. The possibility is endless. You can do whatever you want to like, how cool would it be if I had it to where this is connected to slide dial and they automatically get a voicemail that says, hey, agent, I got your transaction. I'm so excited, and I'll get this set up before the end of the day. Thank you very much for your business. I'm looking forward to doing this one with you.
And Lindsey,
that's a personal touch without me having to do anything.
You are a huge, again, one reason why I'm a fan of you. You hear something and then you take it and you apply it and you make it a reality in your business. So something you and I talked about was nothing against companies that build these 60-page operations manuals and everything else like that. But I can come to a team meeting and do a coaching session with them and say, where is your mission, vision, value? Where's your operations manual? And most people are like, Do you know where we keep that? Do you know where that is on the drive? It's not practical. It's not usable. Nobody uses it. They put years into building this 60-page piece of garbage that nobody uses on a day-to-day basis. You need to build an operations manual that truly serves your team. And to truly serve your team, it needs to be built into your system so it is practical. If it's not practical, it won't get used. If it doesn't get used, you are wasting your time.
Mm-hmm. I want them to have to see this.
Absolutely. So you have not only, like when I said operations manual, yes. Giving them tools to know how to do their job, yes. But none of that means anything to me unless it's baked into the system and it's practical. Everything has to be freakishly practical. And you take an idea like that and you literally built it right into your system. I love it. I absolutely adore that. And you deserve huge kudos for that.
Thank you. I'm going to go over the rest of this just super quick because I know I'm short. So once the data's in our processing center, ready to be worked on, when our TC comes in here, they've got a goal to do it within 30 minutes or less. Our numbers are skewed a little bit because we've got some trainers coming in and learning the new system. But it's working pretty well. Our TC's got to manually save the documents. I cannot make that automatic. There is a way to automatically save documents from an email. I don't know how to do that in a way that's organized and pretty how I like it. So that's a manual thing that we have to do right now. I have a Cognito form that is actually built in to this. If I click on, where is it? Okay, so I do that. I start the time tracker. Oh, sorry. I can start the time tracker right here within AirTable because we want to do that 30 minutes or less. I'm going to say start the time tracker. I'm going to add a new record. My clock's going. This is built into the system. I don't have to go somewhere else. I don't have to leave the page I'm working on. Yep. It's right here. Okay, so I can keep this going while I'm doing my stuff. So I've done the time tracker. I've set up my file. Now I'm going to review the contract. And this opens up a Cognito form because I said all sorts of forms and different tools can be integrated back into Airtable. So this is actually, it's a reference point for when our team is reviewing a contract. They got to make sure that it's qualified for us to work on it. Okay, so that's the first page. And then it's going to go to, do you have the signatures that it's needed? Check all the pages. How many signers are on it? Is there 3 signers? Well, then there should be 3 signatures on all pages. It kind of explains that. Again, this is from my fear of not knowing how to train somebody. I wanted to write down as much as I could. Yep. Okay, so those missing signatures, has everybody signed? What documents are included in that contract? And based on what options they select for those documents, it's going to prompt on the next following pages. It's going to say, hey, on your inspection addendum, look at line 12. What's the days that are entered in there? I want to make it simple for them. And I want to make it so that I don't have to worry about them filling it out right. And, my dad and my husband have been in this business for 4+ years with me now. And they were coming to me all the time with questions on documents. And it's like, you've been in this business for so long, but at the same time, there's new documents every day. There's a commercial deal will come in and we're like, well, we did 3 commercial deals in the last 5 years. Okay, let's remember what these documents are and how we do it. But no, now we have all the answers. You look on this line and it populates everything. When we submit this, it populates everything back into Airtable. Okay. Everything goes back into that same record. And at the end of the day, when we're done doing everything, we can click on another button. Again, we have buttons that we can do. We can do links. We can put whatever we want into the system. Yeah. And it's going to open up a transaction summary or a one sheet, whatever you want to call it.
Jesus.
Okay.
You're hitting me in the spot, Lindsey. Keep going.
There's so much good here. Michelle and I are just sitting here just like drooling just a little bit. I mean, come on, give me a break. It's not just a tool to do their business. It tells them how to do their job. It answers 90% of their questions. It is a built-in operations manual. It's a transaction management system. I mean, what the frick? What isn't it?
I just think, I know I'm transaction management. Yeah. But for an agent or for anybody else using Airtable, you're just building out a simple workflow. And instead of being a slave to the system, which we all are all the time, trying to find new ones, I'm making it work for me. I want it to do exactly what I need in the way I want to see it, in the way that makes sense to me, in the way I'm going to use it.
Where you are doing it at a level that I don't see most people, though, is you started this conversation by saying, we have the data. You are actually noticing that you have the data, and you are finding every which way under the sun to use that data to finish the rest of the job, or to provide information, or to, I mean, you are taking the use of data to a level that I don't see most people use it. I mean, and that is impressive to me. That's just absolutely, as Michelle said, sexy. It's just
so this, because so much of it is automatically already in the system,
so good.
You know, it takes the timeline that we filled out. We only filled out like mutual acceptance was a date, but earnest money was probably just 2. We probably entered the number 2 in there. Mm-hmm. And because of the formulas that I have within Airtable, it's actually calculated that date for me, what the actual hard date was. It knew that if it's a timeline of 5 days or less, it's going to be counted in business days. It knew if it's a timeline of 6 days or more, it's going to be counted in calendar days, because that's how wacky our system is here in Washington. It knows that if it's a holiday, and not just any holiday, but the holidays my MLS specifies, it can't end on that day. You know, the date can't end on that. It moves forward.
Lindsey, I'm just going to have to borrow you for like a week. I mean, you see these things and you know that they can be built out to these amazing capacities. And sometimes you just can't even picture it. And I'm a picture girl. I have to see it. Yeah. Amber inspired me, and I was like, I could do that. Lindsey, I'm just going to have to take you under my wing, and you're just going to have to be my hands.
And Lindsey, I really think that we're kind of messing with you on your time, because I said 15 minutes, but then we keep interrupting you because we love what you're doing. Give us 5 more minutes. What can you show us in 5 minutes?
Okay.
And I'll try.
So I just want to point out that on the summary sheet, I have a different background uploaded to each of my agents. I've got an agent tab. Michelle showed you how you can link information between different tabs. Mm-hmm. So anytime that this agent is linked to a file, this is the background that's going to show up. Sure. We also have, how do I go to next records? You know, this agent's background is different. We have different options, and that's all automatic. I don't have to choose.
Oh my God, it's hitting me in all the pretty.
That's been part of my problem. I loved.
It's not a problem. Keep finding new solutions. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
I wanted the pretty stuff, and anything that I went to, just like the one sheet at Transaction Workflow or that company.
There's so many of them.
Yes, I couldn't make the graphics that I wanted behind it. And it's like, that shouldn't stop me from moving forward. Okay, I can go down with a lesser version, but I'm so prideful of this. I'm sorry, that's my sin is pride on this stuff. I don't want to give it up. So, okay, so if I stop the tracker, okay, it's going to say, hey, I did this today. It's going to prompt me with whatever I wanted it to prompt me to. So I'm going to say that I just did a new file setup, and I worked on one transaction and put in the property address or whatever. Test. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've got a time study table. Okay. This tells me all of my team members, how long on average is it taking us to set up a transaction? So when I'm looking with Brian and I'm training him, you know, he's under an hour now, which is impressive. He's actually set up over 114 transactions already since December. That's amazing. That's a milestone. Amen. Because that's a milestone, I could probably set up an automation in here to remind me that he did 100 and celebrate that with him. I didn't think of that until just now. I'm bummed. I could probably have an automation in here where it sets up some gift basket for him in the Philippines to send him something. That's how cool the system is, how it can be a triggering point. You know, so when you're talking about relationship building, and me, I'm not good at relationship building. You can build out an automation to help with that relationship building.
Yeah. And even
100%,
whatever.
That is being compassionate to yourself, saying, I know that this is an area I'm not strong in, but I care enough about it that I'll build a system that it will help me to care for my people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not saying I'm weak in something. That's saying I want to get stronger and be purposeful and intentional about it. That's a good thing. That's huge good thing. I love it.
So I don't want to leave without talking about the virtual whiteboard, because obviously that's everything. So with me, my virtual whiteboard, again, this is when I'm done with the setup process. When we click all those buttons, an automation in the background happens and the information populates with all of the dates into my virtual whiteboard. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to come in sooner because I don't want to start following up on deadlines when it's not really set up yet. So that's just my condition. This view is where I live. At the same time, it doesn't provide me much to do my job. Mm-hmm. The reason I have it like this is because I want a reference of that 30 seconds or less. Mm-hmm. When I'm in email all day, I want to be able to come in here and I want to be able to say, Stacy Lender. Oops, sorry, I'm in the wrong search bar. Stacy Lender sent me an email. I have no clue what property it is. I have no client names. I have nothing. So I can see, oh, Stacy Lender is actually on 7 of my transactions. Oh, I'm going to need to ask her for some clarity, unless, I've got a little bit of an address, maybe a buyer seller's last name. I can use that as an entry point. I can search an escrow number if that's all I receive from an escrow agent, buyer or seller name if that's all I receive. If I get it from a co-op agent, if I get it from escrow or lender, I can look them up. If I'm looking for an agent, if an agent calls me and, I do the bad thing and pick up right away versus knowing what they're actually calling about, I could come in here and filter and say, hey, I want to look up everything that's by Tommy. Okay.
Perfect.
I filtered it that quick, way less than 30 seconds. Yep. I mean, we're blowing that timeline out of the park. These are the transactions that he's calling me about. There can't be any more, right? Okay. So this is it's my hub for data. Again, the data that we all have. There's no reason why we should be taking an hour to figure out where that email goes to. Yeah. This helps me do it instantly. So the thing that I've built out, super customized, that is not an easy thing and took a while, was an overview of the transaction. This is custom scripting. You can have somebody do this for you. If you like formulas, the scripting in Airtable is very much like a formula. It's just a different formula. So if you know how to do formulas, you can do the scripting. I promise.
Oh, Lindsey. Okay. I love it.
But with this, you can do whatever you want. Again, It's my slave. I want it to do what I want. I want to be able to know the address right away.
Your slave.
This is my slave.
Okay.
I want to be able to see my notes.
Show me what's on this notes thing. This thing is so good. Oh my gosh.
So anything that is a missing document, or we need a signature, or I've sent something for signatures and haven't had it back yet, we add it to our outstanding signatures and docs. Okay. So anytime when you're saying scroll a little bit to the left, scroll a little bit to the right, anytime we touch a file, the first thing we do is open the overview and we can quickly scan this. Is there anything that I need to know? So we're looking, is there any outstanding documents? Is there anything in red? This is our timeline from, the contract review form that we filled out. It tells us what all of our timelines are. Okay. And have we met them or not? Yeah. We've got all of our contact information, because that was a thing that my family, when I initiated this, they're like, but how do we get the contact information? And I was like, well, duh. Why didn't I have that on here? Okay. So I put that on there. I put appointments on there. Coming down further, we've got a brokerage compliance section because we're training somebody on brokerage compliance. This tells us what system this agent uses, what the username and password is to get into that system. Can we submit something by just email only? Do we have to log into a system? And because we're training and we've got one agent in command, and command got something with Gary to bring up to him, but it's hard, especially when you have one agent to work with and you only do something every once in a while. It's hard to remember. So we put quick resources in here. Okay. So how do we add something into command? How do we, whatever, how do we start a listing? How do we add a document? These are the resources in case we need it in 60 seconds or less.
Again, you are the master of finding another use for the data that already exists. The data that already exists, you have found so many great and helpful ways that you don't have to go to where in the system is that. Here's our summary page that sums all of this and all the different fields into this. And it has our built-in question and answer operations manual built right. I mean, I love that. Love it. Love it. Love
Okay.
it.
So I could put whatever I wanted over here. This is where we're at right now. I just, because I've got so much, I want to show that time blocking.
Show me
Okay.
more.
Time blocking. I need to show you time blocking.
Okay, show us.
So you, David, work off your calendar. I should work off my calendar too. A little bit easier for me is I know that I have 2 things that I need to do every day.
Yep.
So I could type in daily over here in my views. And there's the 2 things I need to work on every single day, even on Friday when we're not time blocking. I need to know what is closing today, what's closing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what do I need to know because it's closing today and tomorrow? I need to know, is there any open contingencies still? Because if there's an open contingency, we're not closing today or tomorrow, right? I don't want to send out something saying, hey, happy closing day, when it's like, hey, the appraisal's not back yet. I don't want to be uninformed, blasting out to people and clogging up their email. I want to be smart with this. I want to be compassionate to those people. I need the data to work for me. I need to know if the loan documents are in. If for some reason we forgot to do the utility reminder, it's there. Has a scheduling of seller and signing appointments been done? Do we have an estimated settlement statement? And then I've got these links that actually pull up. Let's see. Okay. It pulls up my email template for me right here. And depending on what is checked off and what isn't checked off, you know, if it says that there's a contingency or if it says that we don't have loan documents yet, it's going to say, hey guys, I'm a little concerned. We don't have loan documents yet. We're supposed to be closing tomorrow. What's up? You know, if everything's good, it's saying, hey, congratulations, we're closing today. Woohoo, let me know when it's recorded. So this is totally conditional upon the data that we already have. So these templates took time. I'm not going to lie. Those templates like that are a bit of a beast. Yeah. But the fact of having a whiteboard, okay, being able to view only the columns that are relevant to this task, that I can do in seconds. I could create one right now, you know, in seconds. That's easy. Okay, so if I wanted to, it's Friday, so I don't have any big time blockings, but if it was Tuesday, I could type in Tuesday and I know here's the 3 different time block events I need to do for Tuesday. Yep. Okay, so I need to come over here. I've got home warranty information orders. Is there anything that I need to order?
Yeah, there are going to be people though that I just want to mention, because I think this is what you're doing here may not make 100% sense to everybody who's going to watch this video. The fact is part of what we do is what you and I talked about is I task batch. Okay, so I do the same task and I review the same things the same day, the same time every single week. So I might have 4 things I check every Tuesday, 5 things I check every Wednesday. So what you've done, I do it on my Google Calendar. You've done it right in this. So you just type in Tuesday and it tells you what your task batching is for that day. And specifically, you know my rule, it's got to be 30 seconds or less. If I have 100 files simultaneously, I come to Tuesday, I do that task batch. My system has to be smart and efficient enough that it could tell me out of 100 files specifically what 4 or 5 properties have that specific task due. And that's what you have built into this. It's just amazing what you've done in this, but that's so the application for those that are used to working with me. That's how she's done it in here. Freakishly efficient. Beautiful.
So you can filter and you can sort. So like in this view, I want to see only stuff that I'm responsible for completing. I don't want to see all my teams. Okay. So that's one thing, like just do what I need to do today, not all of our team's transactions. Yeah. I want to see stuff that's only active. I don't want to see stuff that's closed or is flipped or whatever. I need to see stuff that is closing actually in the next 8 days. Okay. For this time block, I'm just focusing on stuff that's closing in the next 8 days. So I've got that filter on. If I went over to my working on appraisals time block, okay, this one's a little bit different. It tells me what status each of the appraisals are in. So this is filtered to only view transactions that have financing, what the status is. So this one's subject to reinspection. This one's got an appraisal schedule. This one, it's ordered, but we don't have it. This one should be
And those that are familiar with our virtual whiteboard concepts that we talk about all the time, it's exact same concept. She's just found a way to apply it within AirTable that works for her. Now, because I know that we're getting close to about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. So I know that we're going over a little bit here. Totally worth it. 100% worth it. Okay. But here's the question I want to ask, just to summarize something, Lindsey, is first of all, I want to tell you that I don't agree or respect with the amount of times that you've said, this can take a while to build out. Give me a freaking break. You talked about you've done 450 of these since November. I mean, you built this out much faster than you give yourself credit for. I mean, you decided you were going to do it, and you really had an unbelievable system like that. So I think, relatively speaking, to us mortal humans, you did this in a freakish little amount of time. For you, it might have felt like a lot of work and a long time, but it was pretty quick. But let's put you aside for a minute, though. You did all this work. You built all of this. Let's talk about your team now. How was it for them to go from what you were using to this? Is this comfortable for them yet? Because this is still a new tool for them, but it's a lot to swallow. How user-friendly is this for your team?
For me, it's like, bam, I'm done, because I built it. Okay. Yeah. I built it, so I know everything.
Yes.
My husband, he's willing to change. Change is good for him, and he knew we were at a breaking point. So this was exciting. So he's on board. He knows everything. Yep. He's giving me suggestions daily. Hey, the overview needs to have this. So I'm coming to this time block. Totally yeah. Yeah. We know this is working for us. What do we need to do? So I'm telling my parents and my husband, what do we need to do to change this to make it more efficient for us?
And your new employee knows no different. Now let's talk about mom and dad.
Yeah, they're a little bit harder. Dad's very supportive of mom, which is awesome.
Yes.
Great relationship there. Mom is hesitant on change.
Okay.
So it took them probably 2 weeks after the virtual whiteboard was up and running to agree to be in it daily, to get that buy-in from them. Okay. And then they instantly saw, one thing that my mom was doing is she was manually entering all the key dates onto her calendar. And we never did that because dates don't matter too much to me. Mm-hmm. Like I'm doing whatever I need to do to get those dates. But for her, she needs to be in control of those dates. So one thing I did for her was I've got a calendar view that has every single task that's due and when's it due. So like red is like, that's a hard due date. Yep. Yellow is, this is a closing today. Blue is like, well, you can miss it or not, whatever. But this saved her an hour plus per day entering dates easily. If that was one of the days where she had gotten 10 new contracts because she works with a builder, she could have spent multiple hours just adding those dates. So as soon as I told her, hey, we got a calendar. Yeah. She made the switch and she's getting off at 5:30 sometimes. But
and we constantly are talking about, we've done it a bunch of times on this call, is we are not just bringing ourselves value. We are bringing real value. We care about this. This is not just in word. This is in our reality. We are bringing real value to our customers, but then real value to our actual team members. So you brought something to her that she felt brought real value to the way she works.
Yeah. This is something that she could not live without, where the rest of us were already living without. And instead of me saying, well, that's not our process, I don't need the calendar view, that will take time for me to do it. Yep. I said, here's your calendar view. It's going to save you time. This is for you.
Yep.
Mom, this is for you. Come on, get in with it. So they're switched over.
You ended up building this tool so that your team, if someone likes to look at it from one point of view, there's another view that someone else could, because the data already exists. I keep going back to that with you. You have figured out a way to take the data that already exists and make it produce multiple things that serve in multiple different ways and multiple different people. Your use of data, I honestly think, is just at a higher level than most people that we talk to. I'm very impressed with the way that you use it. It's available, so you use it.
Yeah. Okay, two more really, really quick, and then I'd just like to say a couple of things. So I'm sorry. So Michelle, I was completely inspired by her numbers video that I saw, and I knew that I should be looking at my business as a business. I've never done that. I've just been the TC doing the day-to-day. So her video, again, the data is already in my system after seeing just what was on her table. I was able to very quickly one night, just a couple of hours, come and get stats on every single thing in my business. Okay. It's a lot. So it's going to take a second, but I know how many active files we have. I know how many active agents
Jesus,
we have.
I love this. What?
How many brokers are we working with? How many deals have we closed so far this year? How many deals have we closed since my business has opened? We have that goal of setting up a transaction within 30 minutes. What is our team's average for that time tracked activity? How much time does it take us to close out a deal? Projections on what's closing in the next 30 days. This one's not working right now, but that would be on average, how many days does it take from pending to close to actually close something? I just want to give an example of the things that you can track. Yeah. I didn't necessarily say, hey, these are things that I want to track, because I don't necessarily know how to do anything with this data yet. I'm just not there in the business mindset. Mm-hmm. But I was excited saying, hey, these are things I can track. Let's see what's everything I can do. So I can see, what's our highest month for closings? Every year, is it the same? Is there a trend that we're seeing in the year? Is there a trend for new transaction setups? Because closings are usually 45 days later. So when are we actually busy with the setup in the year? What's the data on that? How many of our deals are new construction right now? Because new construction is the only thing that's available in our marketplace. I was turned on by Michelle's, why did they leave our team? Maybe if our agent agreement terminated, or did we fire them? Did they leave? What was the reasoning? Yep. One thing that I want to implement for our agents is asking them what the lead source is of theirs, so that we can provide that data to them. Yep. So this information can be used for me. It can be used with my accountant. It can be used for coaching. I can send it to the agents. I can do anything. I can have a portal from this for my agents so that they can come in and see just their transactions if we wanted to do that. The things that just so much. My agents tab, okay, so I've got data just like Michelle does. I've got an intake form, okay? So if they wanted to register on our website, I don't have it set up completely like this, but this would be a goal. They say, hey, I want to learn more, okay? On our website, they click that, their data comes into here. They turn into a prospect. The prospect gets subscribed automatically to drip campaigns or a journey plan, or, send an email to me as a business owner to give them a call. The kind of things that Michelle was talking about as the workflow for those agents, I can have that built out in here. I can have it when they're done with the discovery call. I say that they're onboarding, and then they come over to my onboarding checklist. Okay. Then it would just, if I change the status, they might come into here. I could have it to part of their onboarding list is they need to fill out another form that gives me their birth date and their dog's name and what's their favorite thing to do. That again could feed automatically back into the system. There's just endless possibilities with what you can do in the system. And I can't stop myself from thinking what to do next. There's so much.
A data junkie. I love it.
Yeah. So that's it. Okay. So my favorite features for Airtable, yes. Automations all day long. Okay. You can automate anything. You might have to pay for Zapier to connect with other things, but you can connect it. Like, I don't see why you couldn't connect this to a different CRM. You can certainly do it to MailChimp for that kind of stuff. And if you wanted to do something really crazy, there's contractors out there can build a customized app to connect directly with this and do whatever you need. Yep. Okay. So that part is limitless. What else did I put here? Workflows, just the fact that you can add different workflows all day long. I can change them instantly. I can, my dad can say, hey, I need this on sorry, I'm going to stop sharing. I can need this on our time block. I can't follow up with appraisals without having this piece of information. I can do that instantly, and it changes everything for everybody in our team. Yeah. Instantly. Yeah. I can see what the team's doing instantly. Yep. If I wanted to work on somebody else's transactions today because they're sick, I could do that. Everything is in the system. And the possibilities for what I can do moving forward with services to my agent without doing anything extra on my point. I'm excited about, what if I just gave them one stat next month and I'm just like, hey, this is how many you've done so far this year compared to last year. What if I did that? And then what if 2 months later I said, oh, and now we've got new information for you. And then at the end of the year, I've got a whole new report, and just, maybe not just giving it all to them at one point, but I could probably do 3 years of releasing something once a quarter that I already have the capability of doing right now. But in the meantime, I've got my agents saying like, oh my gosh, they're just learning new things every day. They're continuing to provide more. In reality, it's the same data that we all are entering on every single transaction.
Michelle?
Yes?
Doesn't suck?
No. Oh my goodness. I'm here like, it's great. I didn't think about it for transaction management, and when I saw it, I'm here like, there's so much that it can be done here.
And people, let's remember is here's the thing I always want to point out is let's get away from the tool, get the concepts, okay? Yeah. The concepts that are really what drove you, Lindsey, to build this the way that it's built. It's all about the concepts. Remember that your tool is not your system, ever. A tool is a tool. Your system is going to be your thought process, how you want to do business, how you want to provide service. Your system, you should be able to a certain extent, and that's something I know you're working on right now, Lindsey, is how do we look at our system and draw it out on a single sheet of paper? Then when we actually draw that system out, because it's our thought process on how we want to do business and what we want to provide, then you look at that system drawn out and you determine what is the tool that you want to use to actually accomplish those parts of your system. So a lot of the concepts, if you're not an Airtable junkie, you still could take so much away from this call today. Okay. The data is there. Does your system allow you to find that data in 30 seconds or less so that you can serve people quicker? Does it allow you to provide reports and information that brings real value to your customers? Okay. I mean, there's so many things just in this one call have nothing to do with Airtable. Nothing to do with Airtable. So don't get hung up on the product, get hung up on the concepts. What Lindsey is showing us in this last half hour is that she is a master applicator. She has figured out how to take those concepts and the tool that she has chosen as her tool of choice. It's all about, here's the way I'm thinking, how do I apply that within the tool? And most people, like right now, we have some new tools that are coming on the market and everybody's working it backwards. Here's what the tool's capable of. And they're going with the tool's capabilities, and that's determining what their system will look like. No, start with what do you want your system and your work process to look like, then determine the tool and build it out from there and make that tool do what you need. Otherwise, perhaps it's the wrong tool. The concepts here are so strong from both of you. It's crazy. Crazy good.
Can we do a quick fire, and you can put this just in comments or something? You don't have to have it in the video. Quick fire for uses of what you can do in Airtable. Okay, yes, so Michelle's got all of her business reporting. Okay, you can have your financials in this, like your QuickBooks, you can have all that connect. Okay, you can do team one-on-one statistics. So if you're a team owner, you can manage what you're talking about with your team members right in here. What's their production? What are they capable of doing in what time? Because there's those time trackers.
Yes.
Okay, we can automate milestone gifts and conversations and celebrations. We can do the transaction management in the whiteboard.
Yep. We
can create an interface for whatever process we want to do.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have any just ideas on anything you've ever wanted to do? I think we could do it in Airtable.
I'm at a loss for words. I'm here like I want all of it.
That's how I am. I'm like, okay, how can I need to stop doing this, move on to the next, get on.
Michelle, help us wrap this up. What are you excited about based on what's happened in this call today? What do you want to share with someone as they kind of come out of this video? I mean, to be honest, you inspired a lot of people. And I know that you said that someone inspired you to start the reporting and stuff like that. Okay. But you didn't just inspire people to use Airtable. I think part of where your inspiration came, and a few people I've talked to, is when they heard you talk about it, they're like, I don't even have a way to know my numbers at this point. And if I do need my numbers, maybe it's not even because they ever even think about knowing their numbers. Maybe they got a coach and their coach is like, what's your numbers? And they realize, you know what, we'll have to do that on the next call because I don't know. I'm going to have to try to pull all of that. Okay. You've inspired people to put together systems. Literally, all they got to do is turn their system on and it tells them what their numbers are. What would you share with forget TC? What would you share with the business owner? Because I think you've inspired a lot of people with just that simple concept.
About knowing their numbers, it's everything really for your business to know where you're at. And when I think what helped me a lot was reverse engineering what I wanted to do for my business. I do coach with a few people actually. And they're amazing. They're always asking me for my numbers, but it's always based on what is it that I want to gain from my life as a business owner. And it has shifted several times in the last 5 years.
And it will.
And it's going to continue. The one thing I love is that I'm super flexible, super. So if I have to change it, rewind, reset, let's do it, look at it from another end, let's do it. Because at the end of the day, these are things that we need only for informational purposes. It doesn't fully define us, but it's information for us, for what we're trying to build for ourselves, for our family, for our teams, for our customers. This is only to make their lives easier. So when choosing anything to utilize for your business, always come from that aspect of, will this serve the purpose where I'm trying to reach in the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 years? And give yourself the grace that, hey, that might change, but for today, this is the truth.
It helps us make better decisions. Knowing helps us make better decisions. And you just said something that again, another one of those things I don't want to just pass by. You just said it, but I still find huge value in it. You said, give yourself a little grace. Okay. There are other people that are hard on themselves because they don't have this stuff figured out yet. They don't have a system to know their numbers, those types of things. These are all things that we don't need great big, huge Airtable complex systems and everything else like that. Remember, we start with a system for everything. So you want to know your numbers, put a system together, draw that out. What would that look like? Maybe the first thing is going to look like, what are the first 3 numbers that you want to know at the drop of a hat? You don't have to get super complex. Just say, what are the 3 numbers? And if you don't know, go do a counseling session or a friendly call with Michelle, Lindsey, myself, or anybody else. Someone in the community will just ask 5 people, say, what are the top 3 numbers you want to know off the top of your head? And then based on there, you'll see some consistencies. I guarantee it. Now, how would you put together a system that you would at least know those 3 numbers right off the top of your head? If that's all you did to start, you're so much farther than you were before you made those 5 calls. And this community freaking loves you and will absolutely pour into you and be more than happy to tell you what their top numbers are that they look at. Okay. I just don't get overwhelmed by any of this stuff, guys. Okay. Start simple, but make progress. Make real progress. Anything else, Lindsey, you want to kind of end with here?
Okay. So I'm crazy nerdy with it, but you can be as simple as, especially with just the intake. If you're literally just trying to activate one new thing in your business, and maybe that's doing an intake form for new transactions, it can be as simple as having that intake form go into Airtable, and that's it. You don't even have to go into Airtable, and it is tracking some of those numbers for you. You know how many deals you now have coming in for the week. You know how many are closing or whatever. You know how many with what agent. You know what types of transactions those are. I mean, that's super simple, and you don't necessarily ever need to even go in Airtable to view those if you don't want until your coach calls you. But it can be so simple. I went crazy with it, because it's endless opportunities. But it can be so simple, and acting on something is the simplest thing you can do, is to go and say, yep, I'm going to do that today. And that's the hardest thing. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
I mean, seriously, just a ton of love to both of you. You both know I adore both of you. I'm grateful for this.
Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for this. And I know everybody in the community is just going to I love it. Tons of love, Michelle. All right. So we're going to end this video. And again, I'm sure I'm speaking out of turn for all of us, but I'm just going to say any of us would be willing to take an email, a call, a message from anybody if there's something that we can help with. And we mean that with all of our hearts. These guys were, when I suggested doing this, it wasn't like, well, what's it going to be? No, it was just immediately, yes. Oh, what are we doing? What are we talking about? I mean, they were both so willing to pour into this community. And so I want to thank both of you and let everybody else out there know you don't have to be that far down the road. All you got to do is know, am I moving in the right direction? And that can be a very, very, very simple step that can change your business, change your life, and change the lives of those that you're serving. Literally. Okay. We love you guys. We'll see you a little later.